throughout the day, we've been seeing these wonderful videos highlighting some distinguished Design Challenge alumni. These are past winners and finalists who have gone on to create successful businesses out of their designs. And as has been alluded to, we are so honored and grateful that they are able to return to Stanford today and take the stage again, this time not in competition with one another, but to continue the conversation about their journeys and their thoughts about designing for longevity. So as I introduce them, I would invite them to come up on stage. So we will be joined by Xia Yao, who designed a dining set for people with dementia called Eatwell for the first Design Challenge in 2014. John Onuigbo, who designed a virtual science lab, as Ken just mentioned, for high school students with limited internet access. He won during the 2021 during the pandemic, so this is his first time at Stanford. And Kyle Rand and Justin Boogaard, who are coming up right now. They both competed in 2017. Kyle designed Rendever, a VR platform to give older adults shared and otherwise inaccessible experiences. And Justin, who we did not have a video today, but it will be forthcoming. Thanks, Laura. Designed GoGoGrandparent, a telephone-based platform to help connect older adults with ride sharing. And as moderator, we are honored to have Professor Ricardo Gomes from San Francisco State University. Professor Gomes has been a faculty member in the School of Design at San Francisco State for over 30 years. He has an illustrious career in the field of design and has focused particularly on issues related to inclusive design and design for social responsibility and equity for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. He's also been a part of the Longevity Design Challenge since its early years, having sent several of his own students to the finals over the years, including, I think, a first place win in 2016 and a third place win in 2018. And he's acted as a mentor to many more. So thank you so much to all of you for joining us, and I'll let you take it from here, Professor Gomes.
Okay, my speaker's on. I want to take this moment before I get started. I have here on my FaceTime, you're not going to see her, but this is Dr. June Fisher. And those of you that know Dr. June Fisher will be 90 this year. And I met Dr. June Fisher 10 years ago at the very first Design Challenge. And ever since that time, I've been working with her faithfully every year. She works with my students. Those who don't know Dr. June Fisher, I always tell my students when I introduce her to me or to them that she has the Midas touch. Anybody she works with, their projects turn to gold because she has a phenomenal ability. And she's not a designer, but she's been at Stanford, she's been at UC Berkeley, she's been at San Francisco State, and she's been at CCA, California College of Art. And although I got my little accolade of, I think of my students, I've had 8 finalists in 10 years of this conference. We've had 8 finalists from San Francisco State and 2 winners, first and third. And I always tell my students, and I engage them every year, I said, it's not trying to win. It's not the winning, it's the experience. And I think I heard a lot of that experiential learning mentioned here in some of the presentations we saw earlier. And I always advocate to my students, design is not about the object. It's not about the gadget or the device. It's about the experience. How does that design enhance the lifestyle, the lifespan, the longevity that we all cherish? And that's the real key. And this is for me as a professor, an instructor, a coach. It's always been, how do I convey that opportunity to my students and students who I work with, such as working with Professor Chu and his students from Beijing Institute of Technology. And I come here every year marveling, just as I did this morning, with the ideas that get shared. And they're never redundant. And this is something to say about the quality and the insight and the mentoring and nurturing that the Stanford Design Challenge has done over the past 10 years. It impacts not only those who are mentors, those who are instructors or professors, but also the students. Everybody benefits from this experience. And I tell people the best thing about being involved or winning, being a finalist, it's not even winning, it's about being able to come together with this whole kind of consortium of ideas and people and cultures and values from all over the world. And I think that's been my greatest experience and benefit. And I say to Xiao, since I'm going to start segueing into our distinguished alumni are, she was the first one. And at that time, I had two graduate students who were presenting as finalists. And when I saw Xiao's presentation, I said, hands down, that's it. I mean, it's not about this kind of paternalism or this patronizing, my idea or my students. It's really about welcoming and celebrating the wonderful ideas that come from such a vast range of participants. And so with Xiao, and I'll say this, and this is a true story, her project, her Eatwell project, I literally see every day. And why is that so? Because I have two twins who have development disability, and I bought the Eatwell, and actually I bought one, and she gave me one. She said, well, you got twins, I'll give you one. And they use it every day. I saw it this morning, sitting in my sink, goes in my dishwasher. And they love it. And I said, this idea is not for old people, it's for everybody. So it's about inclusivity. It's about universality in terms of what we do. I tell my students when I first introduce them aging in place, they talk about aging as if it's a disease. Oh, I dealt with that person that's aging. I said, we all age. And this is what's so wonderful about what Ken shared. And in retrospect, looking at the past 10 years, they have totally broken the mold or this kind of paradigm of what the concept of aging is or longevity. And even this morning's presentations, I was floored by the diversity and range. There wasn't one single project that was the same. It's a challenge. I would not want to be in the position of the judges to have to come up with what is the most appropriate. So I say to Xiao, it's wonderful, and having our speaker here, John, come up and being the first African designer, first Nigerian project to come in. I was floored, as Ken pointed out earlier in showing the map, and where the impact, where the dissemination, where the influence, where the leadership that the Stanford Center on Longevity has established, going far beyond the campus, the prestigious campus of Stanford. And, as we did in noting our wonderful donor and patron, going beyond the farm, going beyond the obvious. How do we break that mold? I heard earlier today about, is that affordable? Who's going to benefit from that? It's always a question. Longevity is not equitable. We notice a lot of disparity. And seeing concepts and ideas brought forward, it raises the awareness. They may not be implemented, but it raises the awareness, the consciousness, the talking about how do we make designing a difference? That's the question. How is designing a difference? So, and the VR concepts, the ride sharing, again, I have Dr. Fisher here because she shares this with me. We sit and we talk every day about that. And every one of your concepts here, she appreciates. She has your Eatwell project, Shah. She has it in her house. I'll go to her house and she'll have the plate right there. And so all of the concepts here, from the ride sharing to the virtual spaces, to even the lab. Dr. Fisher is a teacher, an instructor, a doctor, a practitioner. She started here at Stanford many, many years ago in the VA. And so having a working lab is very, very important, virtually or physically. The genie's already out the bottle. We're not putting the virtual back in the bottle. It's just going to hopefully enhance our lifestyle from, we talked about the atoms, the physical to the virtual. We can make it work. So with that in mind, I want to go to a couple of questions I kind of worked out here that now that I've kind of etched out or sketched out these 4 questions, I've already seen them answered in this morning's presentations by our new class of the Stanford Longevity. One thing, and I'll let any one of you answer this, but I want to say, how did participating in the Longevity Design Challenge finals affect your personal and or professional development? Why don't I talk with you first, because you didn't get a chance to show your work, so why don't we start with you?
Sounds good, thank you. Hi everyone, my name's Justin. I'm the CEO of a company called GoGoGrandparent. We help people live in their home independently by managing on-demand services on their behalf. So Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, Postmates, Amazon, Walmart delivery. People can call a single phone number and get access to any of those services, all of which are monitored and screened to make sure that they're working for people that might have mobility impairments, visual impairments, auditory impairments, etc. And for me, this was a fantastic opportunity to meet people working in this space. I met Kyle at the Longevity Challenge 5 years ago, and there's especially in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of people out there that are working on tech companies of different types, but there's not too many folks that understand a lot of the same challenges of this market. And so having someone that completely gets it and you can vent to and brainstorm solutions with, I've seen Kyle now at, a lot. I was just at his house last weekend, but understanding like how can we change what a conference for older adults looks like? What is the what's the new way that you can communicate with different types of retirement communities? It's a huge benefit. And actually, Dr. Fisher, I think I met at this event, gave me something that I think about all the time. Because there was someone, it was me, I don't even know if Dr. Fisher remembers, but it was me, Dr. Fisher, and then someone else. That other person was asking me how GoGo works for older adults on behalf of Dr. Fisher. And I was responding to that other person, not to Dr. Fisher. Dr. Fisher said, talk to me. Like, what are you doing? And since then, we changed the way that we work with the older adults that become clients of ours. We significantly reduced the amount of materials that we make available for family members or caregivers and totally geared everything to the perspective of the end user. And that was a big deal for us. Now, most of our clients are the end user themselves signing up for GoGo on their own behalf without assistance from others. It dramatically reduced our acquisition costs because we were able to remove that middle person. So it was a big benefit. I'm rambling now, but so lots of good things.
No, that's wonderful. Is that okay with you, Dr. Fisher? Did you hear that?
I heard most of it. Some of it faded away.
Okay, so we just want to make sure you know that you're recognized. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to go to, what's that?
Oh. I just left.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to the second question. And these other questions, if you want, you can come back to the first and second. I just want to make sure. So in the time since you competed in the design challenge, the finals, how has your understanding of aging, health, wellness, and longevity impacted your lifestyle, global perspective, and or professional development? So it's kind of repeated, but your experience in it, how has it impacted your lifestyle or maybe your perception of what is aging, health, and wellness? Why don't
I can jump in. Hey, everyone. My name's Kyle Rand. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Rendever. I have to edit something Justin said. He was at my house, but I was not there. And then 2 weeks before that, I was at his house and he was not there. But we do spend a lot of time together. I just got to emphasize everything that he said. I think one of the interesting things about working in the aging space is that so much of what we're understanding about the future of aging is it needs to be driven by community. And what the team at Stanford has done so well over the past 10 years is really built a community that I'm proud to be a part of, and that has just paid dividends a number of times. And same thing, Dr. Fisher, you and I spoke at the Googleplex together with Stephen Johnston back in, I think, 2018, a year after we did the pitch here. And I think one of the things that working in this space has really emphasized for me is that we have a lot to address as a society, right? This is definitely true in the US. I think it's true all over the world. Our understanding and appreciation of what aging can look like needs work. And the only way we can work that is by working it together. And so anytime that we get an opportunity to come together as a community and help educate, whether it's new students or kids, I was at this really cool forum in Korea teaching all these 13-year-olds about the future of aging. Like anytime we get an opportunity to come together and just emphasize that there's more that we can be doing, it's important. And I don't know if I'm actually answering your question, but I'm just so happy to be in this community and with these people. And I'm proud of everybody who presented because you guys are working on important things.
Okay, I'm going to ask John a question. I'm going to kind of reverse the order I started out with Shah. This is one that Shah told me was a toughie, and I'm going to give it to John because he seemed to hit on it in the video that he showed that was featured earlier. It says, what do you hope to see or have seen already in terms of design leadership, policies, and innovation that promotes and supports healthy longevity so that it is inclusive, representative, and equitable for all?
Yeah, so thank you so much. My name is John Onuigbo, and I'm the CEO at Foris Labs, where we are giving everybody the superpower to convert any given space into a science laboratory at any given time. Before I answer that question, I want to appreciate somebody that's very important in my life that Stanford Center on Longevity gifted me, and that's Susan, seated right there. And Susan was referred to me as a mentor during the design challenge. I can tell you that she helped us win the design challenge, and not only that, the relationship has really been grown over time. Susan has done a lot for the company. She personally screens every advisor we bring on board, and I think it's great stuff. She paid my flight tickets, cut out for everything, and made sure I, came all the way from Nigeria to this place, and I thank her so much. And left for me. When it comes to designs for longevity, there are three things that I really take to heart. And for me, they are the three pillars. What I think are the three pillars of designing for equitable access. So number one is that it needs to be very affordable. And number two, there needs to be usability. And number three, there needs to be equitable access. Going further to explain all those things. So for me, I was asking a question this morning about, the design about exoskeletons. So for me, it doesn't make any sense that you have a great idea that can really help people, that can, change lives for better. And, those things, at the end of the day, what's even more shocking is that those problems are problems that people at the bottom line of the population are facing. Like people who are below the socioeconomic strata. So I don't think it's great that, you have those great designs that can change their lives and they can't afford those things. So cost is one thing that we should be checking, right? So if you're going to build a great idea, I tell people, you need to continue to think about the costing, even when you are building, right? So I can build this with this product that costs $20. Why not think about if there is any possible way you can cut down that cost, so you're able to cut down, the selling price for the customer. And the second one is equitable access, right? So, for example, when we built Foris Labs, we wanted to move labs virtually, but we also had to think about other costs, right? We needed to keep subscription costs low. At the same time, we needed to check out, other factors around that, would impact the users. And for us, then we noticed that in Nigeria, connectivity issues continue to be a problem, and then high cost of, internet subscription. So we need to find a way of ruling out this extra cost that, even though it's not a cost coming from our end, these are environmental costs, and we need to check those things out. So we made sure our labs were available offline, And at the same time, we also made sure that, student like connectivity issues and internet subscription costs were not sort of an issue. And then next thing that that is very important is equitable access, right? So you need to check out across the population. I tell people it's not usually so good to just build for your immediate community. Think around. Think about various factors. Is there insecurity in this region? So, like, if it's a product that needs to be kept outside for the use of the public, how are we going to secure these things? And also ensuring that everybody is able to access that facility and access that product, be it according to, and the beautiful thing about these three pillars is that they are intertwined. Do you understand? So, like, this one links to the other. So if you're able to keep the costs low, and if you're able to keep the cost low, you're able to provide equitable access. And if you're able to provide sort of equitable access, everybody's able to get access to the design. And at the end of the day, longevity becomes something that's no longer is stuff that we dream about in the dreamland, but something that's very, very achievable.
I'm going to just close here with Shah. We're going to go full circle. And I want to go back to Shah because, again, talking about her Eatwell project, but also talking about what Ken mentioned when he got us started up in there for our post-lunch rendezvous. He said about the physical. And yours is a physical concept. It epitomizes the KISS principle of keep it simple, stupid. And as I said, you designed it for the elderly, but it was such a profound and simple and practical idea anybody could use and benefit. And that's wonderful. So my last question, you don't have to answer this, but I'm just going to put this out there, is what role do designers play in creating, as you said, more equitable access to healthy longevity? Historically, low-income, vulnerable economies have not had access to all the services and innovations like the exoskeleton you talked about, that their wealthier counterparts have been able to do. How can designers create more equitable solutions for longevity? And I think, from my perspective, yours is equitable, but you also did something that I don't think too many people have had the opportunity to do through the Stanford Longevity, is you kind of bankrolled or helped to finance. You had to find the funds to produce your concept that is on Amazon. But again, I advocate all of you, look at her product. Eatwell is a wonderful product. It's definitely across the lifespan, full circle, from the child to the adult. And so why don't you just close this off, Shao?
First, there are so many questions in what you said. First, I want to express my gratitude to the Longevity Center to give me this opportunity to speak today. Because 10 years ago, I was just only a student, like many of you, sitting there. I had one idea to help my grandmother to eat independently, and also people like her. So back to that time, as a designer, my mission, I always know I can create a physical product or come up with solutions for to put the digital solution together or provide a service. But that's the only thing I can do. So after I launched the business, I realized that designer is just one person in the whole blueprint. If you want to make some changes, one person is not good enough, but you will, by coming here or to make connections with other people, you'll get to learn such more, including the research and how can you really put in your, make your business into the real life. And these are something everyone can actually initiate the project like this, but the designer have the vision to propose the innovative ideas. So that's how I see the designer can do in the bigger blueprint. And for the rich people, they may hire someone to do it, right? For if they can eat independently, they may hire some caregivers taking care of them to do the massage, and it's all available. But for designers, our mission is to see how can we make the great impact on to everyone who maybe they cannot afford it, and maybe they just need a little more assistance so they can maintain their daily living. And also another thing I think designer can do is, although I'm designing assistive dining ware for people like my grandmother, but by observing people with disability, I am actually designing things for everyone, because everyone can benefit from those small features. Those are not only applied for people with disabilities. So I'm actually designing the things for everyone use daily, everyday things that can help people to have better quality of life.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Dr. Fisher, do you have any closing comments?
Oh, I just regret I'm not there with you. It's always been inspiring, and just hearing these presentations reaffirms my feeling about the inspiration.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fisher, for joining us, and wanted to make sure you were here with us. Okay, Ken, take it away.
I think before the panel leaves, if anyone in the audience had questions, we probably have time for like one or two questions.
Since no one else have a question, how do you think that the general population, be it your local or globally, can better support innovation in this longevity space, so it really does become a movement? So from your experience, what are the next big steps?
Yeah, I can throw out one data point. So there's a prefecture in Japan called the Chiba Prefecture, which has been designed to allow the aging process to be really, really well integrated into the way the community is built. Like, they take a really smart city planning approach to create this kind of community that you could actively be studying what aging looks like and how different ways of changing like city design or like infrastructure planning contributes to better outcomes throughout the process. And so I think you could go all the way that way. Or you could go as simple as in a local community. Like my background, I actually volunteered at a local senior living community. And I think obviously I think that was really influential in my overall career path to be where I am today. And I think anything that we can do to create opportunities for community members who might not spend a lot of time with older adults to interface with older adults and see what it's like to age, and also to break down this misconception that aging is a scary thing, because it can be full of life, it can be full of happiness and joy and connections. And if we can start to just create those opportunities for people to spend time together in a meaningful way, I think that we'll, as a society, end up in a much better place.
I'm a physical therapist. I've been working for about 3 years, but I'm super burnt out because I'm a geriatric specialist, and there's just so much need out there. I was working in the Midwest and then New England, and then and I just can't work for another year. But I think you guys have seen more about what's possible maybe out there. So do you guys really think, even for the older adults living right now in like nursing homes and assisted livings, or like trapped at home, there's actually like hope? Because I don't know, it's really bad.
I'd like to share a thought about that. First, thank you for sharing that.
And for the work
real.
you do.
Yeah. I have a friend who works as an occupational therapist at a skilled nursing facility, and she hates it. It's so hard for her, not because the client work is hard, but because the way that the skilled nursing facility works with Medicare and Medicaid can be really challenging. She feels as if she's spending most of her time worrying about the notes that she's going to write down for their billing, more than she's spending time worrying about, is this person improving or not? And I think that's a big place where we can make some change as a society. To answer also the previous question, you have a lot of people in positions like yours that are getting burnt out by the way the system operates. And that's not, that will lead to a system collapsing. It was such as what you're sharing now, that you can't do this another year. And we need people to be doing this. So I don't have a solution right now for that, but it's a real problem being felt by others, not just yourself. And I think that as far as I've seen, the problem is that people are worrying more about how to get reimbursed for services than the actual services that they're
providing. So my 2 cents.
May I add a note on it?
Sure.
I think there are many times that people think design can solve every problem, but it's actually not. But by doing the research, you started to realize that either it's a policy issue, or it's more like you can think about a good way to solve the problem, or it's about the people. So you have to start there, right? If you have the experience, witness some bad situation happening in where you work, I would recommend that you start to write down everything you see and to categorize the problem, so you will see a big picture of it to figure out the real cause to the problem. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? Sorry, it hits home because my mom, before she retired, was a PT in skilled nursing. And so I used to leave school and I would go and sit in the nursing office and watch her work. And the work you do is amazing. And the impact that you have is so profound. And I think as a call to kind of the innovators and investors and anybody who's contributing to this space, it's really important that we remember that the aging process is so human. And it's really easy, especially the way the system has been built, to get lost in the non-human things. And if there's anything we should be doing, it's a little bit less what is the immediately reimbursable, like pharma or tools or anything, and really what are the things that help drive connections and help people remember why they got into this space in the first place. We see this with caregivers all the time, right? Caregiver burden is so high, caregiver guilt is so high. And this is what we're studying in our clinical trial. If we can use tools, technology, services to help people like you and caregivers reconnect with their why and reconnect with the reason they started working in this space and really focus on the human side of caring for older adults, we're going to make sure that connection and the desire to work in this industry, which I think everybody finds that it's a passion and it's a calling. You don't end up here as a mistake. We need to be doing a better job creating opportunities to just reconnect with that so that you stay motivated and you stay excited and you stay happy. And that's what investors should be spending money on. That's what senior living communities need to be spending money on. And that's what we should all be working on.
So just sort of a final note, I understand the work you're doing, and I graduated as with a degree in human physiology. I so much connect with you as a physiotherapist. And I wanted to know something. I think you are the greatest designer of all times. And you know why? It's because you are helping those people at that point of their life. As a physiotherapist, you are designing a lot of things, right? I want you to understand that stuff, that you're designing lives. I want you to understand one thing. One thing I tell my co-founder is that as a designer, you wear a lot of scars. It's a war. Design is not an easy road. It's a war, and warriors wear scars. And those scars are the stuff that you need to wear proudly, because they are your signs of victory. Without scars, you didn't participate in a war. I want you to understand that, yeah, you're in the front line. You're doing a great job. It's okay to have those emotional injuries. Take time, heal. Wear those scars with pride, and understand that at the end of the day, you are the winner, you are the champion. Never stop helping lives.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask John to stay up here for just a moment. So as we have mentioned, John competed in the design challenge during the 2020-2021 school year, during which we went virtual. With the help of his design challenge mentor, who he mentioned before, Susan Alexander of Stanford's Distinguished Careers Institute, he was able to travel to Stanford to take part in the finalist events yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I would love to take this opportunity to present him in person with a first place trophy for winning the 2021 Longevity Design Challenge.